And we are live. Good late evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey's late show. Got a good show planned for you tonight. You know, we do the researchers reports on Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Central. The late show is just kind of a spur of the moment. I normally reserve the researchers report for researchers, usually. Sometimes Daniela does a lot of the booking for that, but that's what we try to put the researchers there. Normally when we do the late show is when someone's had an experience or they've got some kind of information they want to put out. And tonight, guest hosting with me again, and I'm thinking this might be a regular thing. I might have my new guest host here with me, Mr. Brad Hatcher. How are you, sir?
Fine. How are you doing?
I'm great. And our guest coming to us from South Louisiana, around New Orleans, Mr. Brad C. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Thank you very much for letting me come and talk.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, before we get into the information you want to put out, Brad, I just want to let everybody know, let's keep the chat clean for us. We got the best moderators on YouTube. We appreciate you guys not being vulgar and hateful. We do appreciate that. But okay, Brad, you've got now essentially what you're doing is kind of like what the BFRO does, only in a consolidated area. You've kind of got, I won't say roped into this, but it's just kind of the way things turned out. You've had a lot of people that have had experiences around their place, and then you knew researchers that were looking for places to research, and you're just kind of connecting them. Am I right about that?
Yes. It kind of started through a couple of Facebook groups that I would go talk to people, and I kept talking to people who had experiences or encounters but weren't boots on the ground type, or didn't have the equipment, or didn't have anybody to go with them. And then I, at the same time, talked to people who were good at going into the woods and doing that kind of work, but were just hitting dead ends wherever they went. And it just started to come to me that if we could just combine these two, it really would make sense. And so as I asked around, I didn't ask for people's direct locations, but I started to see that a lot of the sightings were, next to the rivers. And if somebody were to hear knocks outside their place, or maybe a whoop or something, it wasn't hard to talk to somebody 10 miles away who might have heard the same thing. And then that would help triangulate where, the Bigfoot or whatever creatures might be. And that's the way I started to go about it. And I had people talking to me from Oregon to Florida to every state almost in between. And I kept finding the same thing, where people had nowhere to go, but knew where things were happening, or vice versa. So that's how it all came to be in the beginning.
Well, before we learn a little bit about you, I want to let everyone know, if you have activity around your place and you don't feel like contacting the BFRO, or it can be a long time before the BFRO responds. I think what Brad's trying to do is get almost real-time reaction, or at least next day or the day after, to get someone to come out and look for you or investigate, see what's going on, help you out if you can. It's I commend you for doing it, because you're doing it. It's you see a need and you're stepping up and you're actually doing this. So I want to do this right quick. Anybody that wants to contact Brad, is Cusimano?
Cusimano. The CU is like a Q.
I got you. Cusimano10@gmail.com. You can contact him there. I think you are setting up a Facebook page, correct?
Yes.
And you do a podcast on what is it again? I forgot.
It's the Squatchable podcast.
Squatchable podcast. That's on YouTube also. You can check that
That's
out.
on the Richard Allen channel, Saturdays at 5:00 Central Time.
Well, cool. All right. Now, how did you get into the subject before this? Did you believe these creatures existed, or is it just an interest for you?
Well, kind of similar to a lot of stories you hear. Like around the third grade, I gravitated towards the Bigfoot books I found in my school library. But I also have a very outdoors family and friends where, we were crawfishing when I was 5 years old, and I spent a lot of time out in the woods, was taught how to track, and we have a lot of nuisance animals in our areas, and got good at that. And it wasn't too long, probably early teenage years, where we would be in the middle of nowhere and find, like, we didn't think they were footprints at the time, but we could say that looks like somebody's been walking through here, and nobody on earth comes in here. So those similar type things you hear about. And then I grew up like most people, like In Search Of was what I watched. And then
Right.
when Monster Quest came around, I was like, oh, so there is a very larger world out there. And that helped me find bigger and better people who, you see at conventions, and to find that there were conventions. And one thing I noticed, like with the BFRO, they do take great sighting reports, but in one of my areas that I actually go to, the only reports they had in there were from the 1980s. And I'm like, well, there's no way to come close to following up on that. So I started, and then literally started talking to people and going to their areas, which led to what, the issue I'm trying to bring out tonight.
Well, did you try to model yourself or how you go about it after anybody or any group, or were you just, taking it as you saw it?
What I did, and I just got this from what I was taught growing up, is okay, if I have, even just like if I was hunting, if I have something that I'm looking for, okay, if it's a bipedal creature, I went through my state and found the waterways, find where the animal migrations, where the food grows in what seasons, and from there chop down where are the best places to look, and then went about where was public and I could actually go to. And from there, I started to get to, and this was 2013, I really started to hit some places where I found structures. And I'm going to say again, I'll call them footprints. I never had casting stuff with me to cast anything. I did find what could be hair that is unusual for anything that would be in the woods by me, but I also didn't know where to send it. And that's another thing I'm trying to bring, is places like that where people don't know where to send stuff if they find it and who to send it to. And one example, like I had mentioned before the show, like I had a large bird experience, and I got in touch, thanks to social media and the internet, Ken Gerhard, who writes about Thunderbird experiences. So that's an example of like, who can you talk to, when something happens. Like if you were to stumble across the body of a Bigfoot, what would you do next? What's the proper thing to do? And for me, I noticed I didn't have those answers. So the common person probably wouldn't have those answers. And that's, I think, important, because that's the next step after,
Sure.
Experiencing something.
Well, and and especially now, if you do see a print, everybody has a cell phone. You can, instead of casting, especially in Louisiana, you can always side by side with your foot and get a pretty good picture of it.
Yeah, it doesn't take long here for everything to get flooded. One good rain and you lose everything. So phones are a really good thing to bring out there. And that's something, if people are second guessing a video they see, if it's 20 seconds or shorter, I wouldn't put too much stock in it. So, because when somebody sees something interesting, like, you film till your camera runs out or your phone dies. And at least that's what I've noticed.
That does happen a lot. I do want to say this. The reason that Brad C is blue, it looks like he's underwater, is he's outside under the bug zapper. That was the first question I asked. Why are you all blue, man? So I can see that. I can see people commenting on that. why is this guy all blue? Yeah, he's outside of the bug zapper. I think it's cool. Looks like a nice, cool filter. Anyway, but I can tell you right now, I'm gonna be sending you a lot of stuff because I get a lot of stuff. I get sighting reports. I get hair sent to me. I've got 2 envelopes with hair in them right now. I'll get with you on sending that stuff to you, and just putting. I can put a lot of people send them your way anyway. So
okay, good.
What is this? What is it? Thank you, Miss D. I appreciate that very much. Thanks.
There you go. So when you started doing this, how long until you really like found something that made you think, oh, this is, what I want to keep doing or what I want to keep following up on?
It really wasn't too hard for me because my major in college was wilderness studies. Like that's what I really wanted to do, and I had a hunting phase in my life, and I went through that, and I don't do that really anymore. So I wanted to be outdoors, and what better than something that nobody has officially discovered yet? Now, at the same time, I find that's a big problem because that's kind of like why a lot of people like these groups turn into cliques, and you find infighting within Bigfoot groups, which is weird, but it's kind of a race to the finish with some people, and that's the wrong way to go about it. And people who don't want to work together. So that's again where, and I say about 2011 is when I had my actual a Bigfoot experience, and that was the thing that set in stone for me. Like, oh, there is I can't go further with this. So, and I've been going out in the woods looking for that ever since.
Well, so you did have an experience in 2011.
Yes, it was October 23rd, 2:30 in the morning, Bienville National Forest, Mississippi. The person I was with, he owned 6 square miles of private land, so there was no chance somebody else was there. And there was no moon, so it was pitch black except for the stars, and you could hear a pin drop. And within 10 yards of us, I say a boulder because it was like I couldn't have lifted it myself, was thrown into the creek next to us. And then we spent about an hour and a half looking for any animals that could have done it, anything that would have fallen that could have done it. And that's the only answer we could come up with. And for about probably almost about 2 years, we never told a story other than something hit the water. But even to this day, I don't see anything else that could have happened because no animal ran off, nothing was in the water, and it was out of everywhere in this whole area. It came at us, and it had to be thrown because the splash was so big, and there's no mountains around there that a boulder could have ran off. We weren't a higher elevation. So after doing the math, I can say something had to be thrown at us, and it was pretty, one of those that makes your hair stand up. And we didn't just freak out. We took the time to examine where we were and put it all together. And I can still say I don't see any other way than something picked up a boulder and threw it at us.
And this was in Bienville, right? Sorry, Brad.
No, it was near Forest, Mississippi.
Okay, the Bienville National Forest.
Yeah, if you were to look at a map of the Bienville, we were literally like right in the middle, and then Forest is like the nearest town right above us.
Right. Well, the reason I say that's where we recorded our second documentary we did with Invest. MK Davis came down, did an interview with us, and that's where in that area is 30,000 square acres. That is where they researched, and we went in there with 6 people and a little booger dog. And one of the best tree structures that was without a doubt manufactured. It did not fall that we'd ever seen was in there. And plus, all the evidence that Invest has collected in there. I wish they were still doing it, but I think they had to quit for different reasons. But yeah, we've been in there filming, and there's definitely activity in that place. Sorry, Brad.
Oh. Did you feel like when that happened, did you feel like you were being watched at all? Did you get that creeped out feeling, like hair on the back of your neck?
right after the splash, and for that hour and a half that we were there, it did feel like we weren't alone. And you could tell everybody was on edge. Like, we carry guns with us just for our protection. But when that happened, we all drew our guns. And like, that's not like us. Like, we don't, unless we feel in danger, would we do that? And we didn't talk to each other the whole time, but we kept doing the same things, kept looking around and feeling uneasy. So definitely, and if it was a Bigfoot creature, I must say that thing had to stand still for that hour and a half to wait till we leave before it left, because you couldn't hear anything, any noises at all. So it was really creepy.
Well, you hear countless stories of rocks being thrown, kind of like try to scare you away. You know, same MOs all over the
Yep.
place. So
Yeah.
what did you do after that? Where did you go from there after that experience?
That's when I tried to file a report with who I could, and that's when I noticed there weren't too many places to even file a report. I did file with the BFRO, but I don't think they take too many reports that aren't a class A or B, and mine is a C, I think they consider it. And I looked around locally, and there is one or two Louisiana groups. One of them is the people from, I think it's Shooting Bigfoot, the Gulf Coast Bigfoot researchers, but they didn't take any info from anybody, it seemed. So we tried to follow up with who we could, and not many official places I could go to, but people, talking to other people was the biggest thing we could do, and that helped me the most. Just like what you told me tonight, I can take that and go to my maps and start putting more pins in it and say, okay, and start pushing in an area. So instead of looking at 30,000 acres of land, start moving that down to 20 acres of land. And so I just kept doing the homework on it, and did what I did for Louisiana, I did for Mississippi, the animal migration and when it's the wettest part of the year, you name it, got all the info I could. And it does seem Bienville is and going up from there, like, because the Jacksonville Reservoir is to the left of it, and then you get to see that the rivers go through there pretty much. That is a very prime place. Just it's very hard for me to get back that far up right now, but I definitely will be going back. So that's where we're at, where I'm still literally doing research on it as I go.
So that's what started it all.
That's what started me really thinking I had a chance to, because where I'm at, it's pretty much swamp, and you need a boat almost like a car to get around. And it's great if you're a fisherman, but where would even something like a Bigfoot, or if it's a skunk ape, if you want to call it that, where would they even go? Like, they would have to live in the trees almost, and that I'm trying to figure out that problem, because people say caves, we don't have that. And so I believe personally the chance that down here in areas, Florida and all here through the swamps, might be where they migrate because they have to. Up north they have caves, they don't have to move, but here even the deer and everything else migrates too. So I think they move out of here during the wet seasons and maybe the really, really hot seasons. But that started me from just hitting random places to where across the Lake Pontchartrain where I go now. That helped me narrow it down to that bottleneck, and consequently, where I go, there's rivers that go straight up through Bienville National Forest. Like, the waterways are really a key, and I did meet a lot of people who live on the far corner of the national forest, and then some on the other corner. So that's the theory I was bringing to y'all, where just talking to normal people who might not even go out, it brings it all together. And I think we could start looking in tighter patterns in smaller areas instead of 30,000 acres. So that event did set off where I was able to push the research instead of such a grand scale. It made it a lot easier, put it that way.
Well, it got you focused.
Right.
It gave you an idea how to move going forward.
Right, because if you watch like the Finding Bigfoot show, I couldn't go to any of these places they go, and they had the chance to go. Like, and there's no mountains around me, so you have to really pick where you're going to go, where you're gonna be swimming a lot, or it's going to be thorn bushes the whole way. So that doing the research to even the elevations of where we go, and there's a lot of numbers involved, but I'm one of those people that can do that work and still go out. But I was lucky enough to meet a lot of people who can't go out because they're disabled or they just don't have the money, you name it. But those people became invaluable to where they were helping me gather the info and they were helping me keep track of other sightings. So I think if my viewpoint is if to put that on a grander scale, that's where you could have, okay, somebody had a sighting 2 days ago and we can react on it instead of citing reports that are 10 years old. So
yeah, creating your own database, basically.
Yeah, almost in real time, where we could maybe get to in a couple of years where somebody can go online, have a sighting report, and somebody who lives 5 miles away can go into those patch of woods the next day and then see if they find tracks. And then those tracks are going north, see who lives north, and just keep going and almost push the creatures in a direction we want. Now, I know that's hard and that sounds ridiculous, but that's just the way I think of it. Like, we might not be able to do that, but
this is the thing here is I don't really know anybody else that's doing this. And to me, it's important if you're going to do research and collecting actual research, collecting information and putting all these pieces together and making and drawing corollaries. And if you find enough information that is consistent, to me, it's going to be a lot better, easier to locate these creatures, for lack of a better term. I get kicked in the teeth over calling these creatures things, and
right.
Creature just comes from the word create.
Right.
We were all created by some whoever you believe in. We were created. That's how I see it. So I call them creatures, beings. It's important because, like I said, I don't know anybody else that's really doing that kind of work. I know there's people that want to put together databases, but they're not doing, I guess, the due diligence like you are, going out and actually getting information and then getting to the point where people are actually bringing information to you. I'm going to send you a bunch of stuff. You're going to be probably hearing from me quite a bit. And again, I just want to say this again. If you have experiences around your house, and you want to get a researcher to come around, or you are a researcher looking for a place to go, you can contact Cusimano10@gmail.com. That's Brad C., also known as Chubs. I guess that's your nickname you've had forever, right? You're not a really chubby guy, so I don't know. I don't want to ask how you.
No, I got that in the 5th grade. I've always been a husky person, as they say, but that stuck, and people still call me that. But Brad's fine. I'll answer either way.
Nonetheless, well, you can contact him here. And, talking about the BFRO. Now, the BFRO get a bad rap a lot of times because of what they do. It's kind of, to me, it's the way it's done. You pay your $90, you become a researcher, and there's no real vetting process there. And what happens is someone calls them, and then they send out whoever's close in that area. And if they send out, the experts, that's, telling these people what they need to do and how they need to do it instead of actually helping them, then it looks bad on the BFRO. Another thing that they don't do, if you look at how many reported sightings they have, it's over 15,000 since they started. But go to their site, you're not going to find near that many the stories and reports because of their criteria. And we're as guilty of it as the next. We've talked about having our own personal incredulity in this and turning away from, quote unquote, the woo side of this. And, and Bigfoot Odyssey, to do that to me is a bit disingenuous because it is a part of the subject. There's something going on here Whether you believe in it or not, something's happening. You know, people that don't know each other experiencing the same thing. That's these things that appear to be and seem to be paranormal. Now, I'm not saying I believe in it. I'm not saying that anyone else has to believe in it. What we did, we didn't change what we believe. All we did was expand what we believed was possible. And then, you know, once we started having these, this other side and showing people, like we had Dr. J on, we had Mark Barton came on, told his story. And another thing about that whole Mark Barton thing, and not to get off on a tangent or a rant here, but what it's caused and what we have gotten in as a result of putting that out there, what I've gotten in, and I want to go over some of that with you guys here in a little bit. But you can go through those comments and you'll find at least 50 what I call $2 diagnosis of someone telling him what he saw and what he experienced, you know, and they weren't there. None of us were there. You know, Mark was out there. He experienced it, whatever he experienced. All we can do is take that information. You don't have to believe it. But what ends up happening, and I notice this a lot, is people taking part of the information and then they'll cut off the pieces that don't fit into their own paradigm. They'll take that, shove it into their paradigm, and then give their nickel's worth of free advice. And to me, that's the wrong way to go. I mean, I'm telling you right now, Mark Barton doesn't care. He's doing much better since all this. I was actually kind of worried about the guy. Like, again, not to get off on that and take anything away from you, Brad. I did want to get you, but I talked with Brad H here earlier about us kind of talking about this and where Bigfoot Odyssey is going, what we've and some of the stuff that I get is just, where do we draw the line here? Is there, because I've got some stuff here that would upset so many people. And I'm not saying I believe any of it. And I wanted to read some of it, but maybe I'll do that a little bit later. But I don't know if I'm looking for advice or what on what we do here, because we want to have an open platform for people to tell what has happened to them and their experiences. But what I've gotten as a result of it, it's kind of, is so hard to explain. And when I read this, you'll understand what I mean. So.
Well, and Kerry, like we talked about, I call you the Bigfoot 2020. Like your program is, you know, you stay neutral on stuff. You let people tell their story, you know, tell their calling, you know, what happens. And like with Brad C, you know, a lot of people don't want to call the BFRO because they think it's just a waste of time. And Brad, what it sounds like what you're doing is you're trying to recreate the model for this or for reporting to somebody. And, you know, I think that's important. But, you know, also to what Kerry's doing, you know, he's the only person who's doing what he's doing right now. And I think that's very important. And that allows a lot of people, you know, to discuss what they're doing, like yourself, and, you know, discuss like Mark and Dr. J and stuff like that. So I think it's, you know, too important right now.
Are you going to document the paranormal stuff, Brad?
The way we do it, my friend who we grew up together, and he's the one who comes out with me. His motto is, you can call us, tell us you have a Bigfoot, an alien, or a unicorn. We're just going to ask where, and we'll start there. And we're not going to tell you didn't see what you saw, but we're going to do what we can to get to the bottom of it. And we leave people's experiences to them. And if they are nice enough to share with us, we don't judge on what they say. But yeah, we just go with, okay, well, let's start with where and work from there. And
you're not going to leave someone's experience off just because they mentioned seeing orbs or hearing voices.
Yeah, we've gotten the, you know, cloaking stories and portals and the usual, but, you know, we don't discount anybody's story on face value for that. It's, well, let's start with where. And we have run into people who say, okay, it happened here. And when we look at the place they're talking about on the map, it's the middle of a lake. And it's like, okay, well, can't really go there. So we move to the next one. But other than that, no, we don't discriminate for any reason. We just take the story and document it and move on.
Cool. And you know, that's kind of what we're trying to do here. And I want you guys to see this, to hear some of this. And this was sent to me, and I could read you 5 different ones. This one was extremely detailed. You'll see what I mean. It's kind of redundant the way he reads it, and it's long. But this is the stuff that I've been getting ever since. I talked to this man on the phone, and he was just as calm and matter of fact as Dr. J, but the information is completely different. So I would tell anyone to listen to this stuff and just try to decide for yourself. Now, I don't believe any of this stuff that this person sent, but that's just me personally. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't open up like I said, expand my belief in the possibility, because if you do that, then you can arm yourself with this information. What's going to happen if you dismiss it outright and then you experience these things? I think it can have a lot more profound effect on you rather than preparing yourself just in case. I think that's important. But like I said, where do we draw the line? I want you guys to hear this. He told me I could put this out there. So here we go. There has been an explosion of UFO sightings globally and in space. Several civilizations are here from the 7th through the 12th dimensions. The 7th dimensional civilization is the Pleiadians, the parents of humanity. They started seeding themselves to this world about 325,000 years ago. They were forced to leave when the Zeta civilization arrived. They were unable to fight the Zetas. Why does human history only go back 6,000 years to Adam and Eve, who never existed, apparently, according to this guy? Because the Bible is a rewrite of history. Now, that's just the beginning of this. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but you see what I mean by what I've started to get, and where do I draw the line in putting these people out here and putting this type of information out. Now, there's some stuff in here that I would not say is harmless and would cause a lot of dissension, which is what we don't want to do. But I guess is what I'm looking for is some advice, because I've never delved into this. I'm not saying I don't believe any of it. It doesn't fit into my paradigm because it's not what I've experienced. And I'm trying really hard. I don't want to turn my back on it because it's apparent to me that something is happening here. And getting these people on here and telling about their experiences, not what they think, what they have experienced. That's different. I'm not going to have anybody on here giving their opinions and what they've come up with when it comes to this paranormal stuff. That's not what we're going to do. Now, researchers and having opinions on the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch themselves, that's kind of why we're here. But when it comes to the paranormal stuff, you know, we can speculate all we want to on it, but that's not going to be a main focus for this channel to do. We're not going to do that here. So I guess I'm just looking for some advice, maybe. And I do want to talk about real quick our giveaway. Next Friday, we're going to be drawing for 4 prizes. It is $10 to enter, and that puts you in all 4 drawings. You get 4 chances to win for $10. Every $10 is an entry. And I put this on this tripod here. These night vision binoculars, and it's going to come with this infrared flashlight. It shoots up a spot out to about 150 yards. You can put this on here, set this up, press record. It's going to come with a 32 gig card, but you can put a 64 in it. It'll handle that. Set it in the spot, hit record, and record for 5 hours straight just in one area. So they are night vision binoculars. They're 2nd generation. I think they're really good anyway. Another prize is this set of radios. I think I looked it up, $600 for the night vision binoculars giveaway. This is $220. about 110 bucks a piece. Comes with a charging pedestal. They work up to 36 miles, and this is going to come with 2 earpieces. So good luck to whoever wins those. Giving away 2, if I can find one, of the Black Web 20,100 milliamp hour battery banks. You can charge your laptop about 7 times. Your cell phone you can charge about 10 times. And what's cool about it is you hit the little button there and it tells you the percentage of battery you have left on there. So we're giving away 2 of those to one person. Is going to get 2 of them. And the 4th prize is going to be a Bigfoot Odyssey t-shirt. I've got 2 t-shirts here for Tina C. I'm sending those out to you soon, probably next Monday when I send everybody else's stuff out. But if you send to the PayPal, and I'll put that, I forgot to put it in the description here. Send that to the PayPal, it's $10. And if you do not win, this is important because we have to do it this way. If you don't win a thing, and that means if you put in 20 bucks and you do win something, it's going to start on October 1st. I'll be sending all of your money back to you. So essentially, it's not costing you anything to enter this, except for consider the savings for until the beginning of October. And I have to do it that way. Kind of don't have a choice. We appreciate everybody that helps us out here. We weren't going to ask anybody for donations, so I said we got this extra equipment here. We'll do a fundraiser for it, and we appreciate everybody that's in. I think there's 78 something entries in right now. So everybody that enters into the PayPal will get an entry into the drawing that we're going to do that Friday night, and it's going to shut off Wednesday after the researchers report. Or we'll go till midnight Wednesday after researchers report. We'll shut that off. Okay, I think I've done quite enough talking.
Okay, I have a question for you, Brad.
Yeah.
Like, when did your experiences when you started going out? When did they start ramping up, or has it just been gradual, or what's your typical call?
I wouldn't. The difference for me is I don't think it ramped up. I think I started to notice more. Like, I don't think 20 years ago I paid any attention to what could be a structure, let's say, or like a wood knot compared to a twig snapping, or being able to compare it to, or anything that I like now listening to a podcast or somebody reading off somebody's experiences or just a story. I take that information. I started to notice more, where when I went out, I wouldn't notice or investigate what might be a footprint. I might see something and go, oh, that's odd, and move on. But after my experience and the internet became such a place to find anything, I think I just noticed more, and that was the key.
Now, or how many calls or questions or from people reaching out to you are you getting a month, or does it just vary? Or
and it does vary, because right now it's me going around to be at a Facebook group or going in the chat of a show on YouTube or in the comments, and sometimes I'll get 10 people will get back to me, and we'll start from there. Sometimes one person. So it does vary, and it depends where I go. Like, I noticed, like, social medias like Facebook, I get a lot more activity and people talking to me compared to something like YouTube, where some people do talk, but people seem to be more hesitant when it comes to like YouTube to get into more detail. Or I run into more, well, where I go is private. I don't want anybody to know, and I don't want to know where people go. I tell them I just need a general area. You can you can go as far as you want from where you were at. Private property is private property. But I find places like Facebook groups, when those got bigger, that helped a lot more.
Mm-hmm. What's the craziest thing you've had requested of you, per se? Like, what's the wildest thing somebody said that we have going on?
Well, tell you the truth, out here we have old plantation houses,
Hmm.
and some some are like open for public where you can go through the tour. And I've even spent the night at one. You can do a bed and breakfast situation, but some are run down and nobody really takes care of them. And there's a city called Chalmette out here,
I know it.
about 30 minutes from where I'm at. And one of their plantation houses, the story told to me, just to shorten it, was they saw a lantern going through the house and nobody was there. And that story, eventually they came to say it was actually a Bigfoot holding the lantern going through the house. And they've never deviated from that story, but the place is so run down, I can't get into it. But, you know, that's one of those, I could tell by the way they were talking to me that they believed it. They believed what they were saying, true or not. That was probably the craziest I've heard so far.
Well, have you had any other experiences like, what happened to you in 2011 with the rock getting thrown when you've gone out to check out stuff, or, knocks, or just, any stuff like that?
Um, the occasional what could be a knock, but I have a picture and it's on my Facebook and I've sent it, and that'll probably be the first picture I put in the new group. It's two very alive trees that are pushed into an X formation, and they got green growth still on them. They're still stuck in the ground, and they're 10 inches across. They're not young or too old, but these two trees are at a trailhead, are pushed together, and we looked all around there for footprints or tire tracks, and there was nothing. But and there's no wind damage to any other trees. It's very odd, and that's one I chalk it up to something like Bigfoot because there's no other explanation. It's just two live trees pushed together, and it's very strange. But I'm definitely going to put that picture up in the group because it's that's probably the weirdest thing I've seen.
That is pretty bizarre, but
You say the group. What group are you talking about?
When I make a Facebook group for what I'm trying to do for this.
Okay. Well, just when you do that, let us know so we can
Oh yeah.
let everyone here know, and they can go and
Yeah, I'm just with school actually starting up again. I have one youngin who's going to be going. Once that gets going, I'll have it up because my time will be a lot more free. So within before we even get to September, I'll definitely have it up. But I'll let you know for sure.
good deal.
that would be good. It seems like there need to be more people like you out here doing this. Just because as I said earlier, a lot of people don't want to call the BFRO. I mean, you just have heard too many odd things about having to deal with them. So how you can help could be very beneficial. With that being said, do you plan on going back to the 2011 spot at some time?
If I'm able to, it's getting to talking to the person who owns that land is a very busy person. And so if he ever says yes, I'll be the first one there. But I'm trying to go back around that area in the forest. So definitely as soon as I can, I'll be back there.
All right, the boss just showed up. Everybody wanted to see the puppy. Look at him.
Okay.
He is almost perfectly back to normal. He's still healing. He's really sore, but yeah, this is why you guys haven't heard of Shudder in a week. But everybody wanted to see him. This is him. His name is Jester, and called him Jester because of his mask. It's just like a court jester, and so that's him right there. All right, boss lady, thank you.
Hey, Linda.
She says, "Hey, everybody." Yeah, that was he is a mess, let me tell you. Boy, that just fucked up the show, didn't it?
No, I'll tell you what, you know, there's nothing bad about puppies.
Nope.
Nothing cuter than puppies. So So do you have anybody else helping you with this, Brad?
I have one person that's almost always with me when I go out. Person I was mentioning earlier, we grew up together. He's part Cherokee. He's a very good tracker, and there's pictures of me and him actually like in diapers with our parents in the swamp. So we've grown up in the woods. So that's not the hard part. It's a lot of the hard part is going to places you can legally be there and not getting in trouble or in anybody's way. And that's a big help with what we're trying to do, because you do get permission from people who own a lot of land, but you normally couldn't go on there.
Well, are you getting people that keep on having the same experiences, and you're going out to try to help them, or do you do a lot of talking on the phone to them, or trying to explaining stuff, or what?
Both. There was I used to live across Lake Pontchartrain for a while, and there was a young lady who, thanks to like a Facebook group, she kept telling me there's something behind my house. And me and my friend went, set up some trail cams, never got anything, but for at least 2 years, she kept in touch with me. So it was either a very pesky bear or something, but she knew what the difference is. Like, she heard what sounded like hands clapping and, strange things like that. So pushed us to look, to think it was a Bigfoot type thing. And a lot of the other stuff, I would give advice to people. One of the things, like I was saying, equipment is a big issue, because some people have a lot of good equipment, and some, it took years for me to afford one trail cam. But talking to people, that this is another thing, like tonight, where somebody might have experiences or can tell you where to go, but the next person down the road who you talk to will be like, oh, well, I have the night vision and I have the trail cam. And you put those two together, and I think you start to really increase the chances of catching something on video or a picture.
Well, and one of the interesting things from this past Friday night was when Mark, aka Livewire, was talking about daily moving trail cams and stuff around, just to try to keep them second guessing, or because it seems like everything you hear is that they're always watching. They always can figure out what you're doing, and so I don't think you can per se outsmart one, but you have to be clever in a sense. So, and then that's a challenge, because you don't know how clever you have to be.
That's a very good example. I do say, like, if anybody's been out in the woods, either hunting or just sitting there, you can hear a vehicle from miles and miles away. It wouldn't be hard to think that a Bigfoot, that's how they know what we're doing. And they're not going to go in that direction, and that might be where your trail cam is. But if you're coordinated with somebody who's 10 miles away, either one of y'all might push that creature to the other section. So I think they can, they can hear us coming from a long ways away, but they can't hear everybody coming or everything that's going on. So that's the thing. I'm just trying to figure a way to increase our chances without working twice as hard, if I put it that way.
Yeah, you're doing all the work up front. That's it's smart as far as I'm concerned.
Well, or do you have a problem if somebody says, "Hey, come out and spend a couple nights out here in the woods? We got some, funky stuff going on"?
No, if I had the time and I get to know them and trust them, and let me just throw that advice for anybody: don't just go to somebody's land that you don't know too good yet, or too well, because you always want to be safe. But no, I'd be happy to go, and we're big on throwing up a tent. We're good at that, so we have no problem. We've done it to about 5 or 6 people who were nice enough to just say, "Go, this is my land. You can go anywhere over here." And we didn't go anywhere near their house, but we got to inspect the land, and we do a lot of the research beforehand. Like, I have a thing about maps. I love maps, elevation, and finding out, like, where the waterway goes and such. So again, trying to push my chances down to a bottleneck area. But no, I've never had a problem if the people seem right, helping them out and going to that place.
Well, I guess doing what you do, you have to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself in, like, a year from now with what you want to do?
If it was going the way I'm thinking, somebody were to have, a Bigfoot experience, and the next day they go online and they go find somebody close to them, and from that chain get to the people who are boots in the ground, and the people who are ready to go out and do cast prints and put up the right equipment. So for me, I'd like to be one of the people who can go out and do it, but I also enjoy taking down the stories and putting them in an order to where the next person can come and read the info and take from that and find out where they're going. Once again, like when BFRO reports, some just say buy Interstate 5, and that really doesn't help. So, and I know they're only doing as much as they can, and some people don't give too much info, but I'd like to see it, where it's interactive enough to where, and people do it today. I see people talking in these groups. Like I told people where I lived, and somebody be like, oh, I live, 30 miles to your west. That's the start of that connection, to where in between those 30 miles, we can meet 4 more people and start that chain. And again, I don't think it would be too long to where, using the reports and the activity we know about, bottlenecking a Bigfoot into an area to where the boots on the ground people have the biggest percentage chance of running into them.
Okay, so it sounds like you want to start like with a regional database first.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm literally drawing dots on maps at this point, but I'm going to work I'm not the most computer savvy person. And that's another thing where people could help me with that, where, I'll start the Facebook group, but I need people to help me with the doing the skills it takes to do good computer work. But that's the whole point of this, is meeting the right people, because not everybody's good at everything, and, broaden the scale of who you're running into.
Well, that was part of the reason for having you on here, was to get your information out there, what you wanted to do. Anyone interested can email you right here, Cusimano10@gmail.com. That was, but that's why we're here, is, if we're going to push awareness, we need to, anybody that's out there doing anything. And for you, you're just planning on expanding what you've already done, right?
Right. I'm not looking to be the leader of a group. I want everybody to be involved, the most, like, together, because a lot of people I've noticed feel intimidated about reaching out to their local group in their area because, oh, I'm going to get shut down, or they're going to think this of me.
Well, there's a lot of experts out there.
Yeah.
Anyone that can tell you everything about Bigfoot but can't show you anything, I would probably just kind of second guess. Just saying, we all have opinions on this, and I don't think any one of them is right. But collectively, I think anyone could draw information from each one's experience and come up with a pretty good idea of their own, and be comfortable with what they believe, whether they're right or not. Right. As long as you're aware, you don't have to believe. Just consider it as a possibility. It's all you really have to do. That way you're armed with it. That's our best angle. And that's why I wanted you to come on here. And I'm glad you wanted to come on here, because you're actually doing something. And it's so rare to find someone. There's a lot of people that want to, but they just either can't find the time or don't really know what to do. And I would suggest anyone doing that to contact you. Contact me. I know a lot of people. By now, I know tons of people that I can put you in contact with, at least, if I can't help you myself.
See, there's a good point. Like, if I can't help the person directly, maybe you can, and I just
send people else. That's all I do. I'm just a board here. That's all I did. Tamara, thank you for that super sticker. I'll put you in for the drawing. You guys donate here, that's fine. YouTube takes 30%, but I can't. It's hard for me to send your money back to you when you do it here. If you do it on the PayPal, I can send it back to you. But we do appreciate that. Thank you so very much. I saw another one somewhere, didn't I? I did. Miss Marie, as a matter of fact, I want to mention this right quick. Next week, our very next late show is going to be with Miss Marie Mason from Bigfoot and Ghost Paranormal, and her and Argo Tanza, who's had Bigfoot experiences. We're going to have those. Probably, I got to get with Marie. Probably either be Tuesday or Thursday. This depends on what they can do and what we'll be doing here. So I did want to mention that. We'll be doing the next late show with them next week. Sorry, Brad. Am I boring you?
Which Brad?
Brad Hatcher.
No.
Man, not this guy again.
No, my dogs downstairs are barking, so I'm trying to figure out what they're barking at. If it's stranger danger or just I want to go outside.
I do the same thing, except I do this. People see me do it all the time.
Hey, if I could bring up a point real quick, the Mark from Trail to Bigfoot that you had on, I've actually been watching those guys for years now. They're a good example of somebody where, whether you believe his story or not, you can go to their YouTube channel and see that they've been going out into the woods for 5 or 6 years. You know, you can see what they've been trying to do, see the results they've given, and then take his story however you want. You know, like he does from what I've seen him on YouTube. They don't look like the people to make up anything, especially him. You know, they look like really honest people.
No. Yeah, that's just it. There's enough information out there on both of them that you can actually get to know who these guys are. And when you saw him on here and what the trauma that he had experienced, and all those people trying to tell him what he had been through, it just I think I ended up blocking 14 people, either just for being nasty outright. Look, we've blocked in 2 years over 420 people. I just went and looked at it the other day for various reasons, either just being mean and hateful towards our guests, or that's for the most reason. For the very first time, I blocked someone for advertising an ad blocker.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're advertising ad blockers when that's our revenue. Something else I'd like to say about that right quick. The little yellow dots you see at the bottom, if you don't have YouTube Premium, enjoy the free content. That's all I can tell you. But any show we do here and monetize, I didn't monetize the last one, I forgot to. But if we do monetize it and you see those little yellow dots, those are not all commercials. Just want to say that outright. That's just places where you could see a commercial. You're not going to see more than 4 per hour. So just aside.
I was going to say, usually it says, you can skip it in 5 seconds too. In some
that's it. But they look and they see 20 yellow dots in the first hour and like, oh, it's full of commercials, and then they'll make a comment. I'm like, you didn't watch it, did you? Because when they did that, I was like, let me go see, and it just goes right through most of them. What it is the YouTube algorithm picks spaces where there's a lull in the action. The algorithm will pick a spot and mark it. So that could be where a commercial shows up. That's all that is. That's not actually where who puts 20 commercials in a 1 hour, and there's none in the second hour of the one that we were talking about. So I know I've got a lot to rant about tonight. I'm looking for advice. I am just, I need help. That's what I need.
Are we going to have football or are we not?
Yeah.
That's the one question I'd like to have answered.
That's another thing. But I'm proud to announce if Brad Hatcher would do it, that he's going to be my guest host for the late show from now on. It's all up to him. Well,
I will do it.
Let's get some advice on that too. What do you guys think about that? Brad Hatcher being the guest host for the late show. We got Daniela for Research Report, Brad Hatcher guest hosting for the late show. What do you think? Let me know.
I'm scared to look.
That is going to be good.
Yes, it will be good.
But all right, we're coming up on the hour. Brad C, you feel pretty good about this?
Yeah, this was the first chance I got to get out to a lot of people at one time, and I really hope it helps. And this could be the start of a really good experience that we can all share together.
Absolutely. I'm all for it, man. Any help that Bigfoot Odyssey can give you, we're here for you. Absolutely. You got my number. You call me, text me, whatever you need me to do, and we'll push whatever you got. So you can contact Brad C at bcusimano10@gmail.com. Once again, if you've had an experience, you need a researcher, or you're a researcher looking for a place to go and check out, contact Brad C. Or if you want to help out with the new Facebook page, come and be looking out for the next late show next week, probably Tuesday or Thursday. I'm not sure. I got to get with Marie Mason and Argo Tanza about when they want to be here, and that'll be 9:30 p.m. Central, either Tuesday or Thursday. We'll have that show. But I want to thank Brad C for coming on. Thank my guest host tonight, Brad Hatcher, for being here. Thank you, Brandon Shoma, for that $2 super sticker. You are the man.
Well,
I think that was probably an accident, knowing Brandon. You probably. Thank you, bud.
I definitely think we need more people to do what Brad C's doing. So it only helps. Definitely. So you can contact me always. Anybody. I put my phone number up here. Chrissy, call me. I'll get you in contact with somebody. But thank you all for joining us here tonight, and y'all be good.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Y'all.